Hello, my name's Bev and I'm the author of the book Please Eat, A Mother's Struggle to Free Her Teenage Son from Anorexia, which describes our family's battle with the deadly eating disorder, anorexia nervosa, which my teenage son Ben developed back in 2009 when he was just 15 years old. In August 2011, we were still wondering what to do about school. The following month, September 2011, Ben was to start the upper sixth form, the final year at secondary school. We were still in two minds as to what to do about this, whether he might decide to resit the lower sixth year, or whether he would just plough ahead and go on with the upper sixth year. And this post from the 22nd of August talks about that, and it's called "School is just 2 weeks away, but which school?" So we're faced with this decision. Would it be easier, less stressful and more enjoyable for Ben if he went back a year at school and redid his lower sixth year? Why? Because last year he missed so much school, at least 60%, that it messed up his AS level exams. We got the results last week. So it means having to do several resits, alongside the pressure of studying for the A levels themselves and applying for university and so on. The only problem would be that it would mean changing schools in order to do this. But on the other hand, the new school is more local. It's an excellent school, and it would mean Ben could start again with a clean slate, without his peers passing judgments based on his past eating disorder behaviours, and so on. So this week is decision time, and I've told Ben that the only person he should consider when making this decision is himself. He shouldn't make decisions just to please other people, be it his current school or his parents. He should choose what he feels would be the easier, less stressful, more relaxed and potentially enjoyable route. Also, no one is pushing him to go to university. He can make that decision later when he feels ready. My gut feeling is that he will opt to stay where he is, which would mean extra studying and extra lessons. In an ideal world, this would be doable, but if something like the insomnia kicks in when he starts back at school, things could go pear-shaped very quickly. After all, he'd need to be in school full-time in order to cope, and thus far he's only managed 1 or 2 full days at school. The other potential spanner in the works is the problem of so-called sitting around all day at school doing nothing, as he puts it. But he's now at a stage where he can deal with this quite successfully. He's discovered that he doesn't suddenly start to balloon out on so many calories when he's sitting in lessons as opposed to exercising at home. This side of things is, thankfully, pretty much under control now. So we're having a meeting with the sixth form head on Wednesday to see what she thinks. And what does Ben think? Well, there are pros and cons for both options. Like me, he's unsure which would be the best solution. The trouble is, with school just 2 weeks away, we can't hang around too long before we decide what to do. And the next post talks about school as well, and is from the 25th of August 2011, and it's called "Exam Results Season Made Me Think." Even though Ben wasn't at his best for his AS level exams in June because of the insomnia, he managed to sit them with his peers without any problem at all. The previous year, GCSEs, it was a different story, although thankfully no insomnia back then, which didn't kick in until the following term. Also, with the start of sixth form a year ago, he made the decision to go back into school full time. It wasn't a success. Ben pushed himself too hard and quickly reached burnout stage. By half-term, we decided to take him out of school again and for him to go in as and when he felt he could. I know that schools and exams can be worrying and stressful for parents of teenagers with eating disorders, not to mention for the teenagers themselves. So here's a bit of feedback I gave to another parent recently, which may help other people too. After a long period away from school in his GCSE year, Ben decided to go back to school full-time in the sixth form. From the start, he pushed himself very hard, a case of all work and no play, which included avoiding his friends and overworking in the library through break, lunch and spare periods. Not surprisingly, by half-term, he had burned himself out, was hugely unhappy, and so we had a rethink about a better way of approaching school, which ended up being a case of Ben going in as and when he felt he could and doing work at home when he felt he couldn't. This way we hoped to gently ease him back into full days at school while getting him re-established with his peer group socially. The previous academic year had seen Ben's descent into the eating disorder. By the February of GCSE year, we'd decided to take him out of school altogether, meaning that he studied for his exams from home. When it came to the exams themselves, Ben was allowed to sit them separately from everyone else, with an individual invigilator. This way we avoided any problems of A, Ben freaking out and ruining his own chances, and B, Ben freaking out and ruining everyone else's chances too. It works very well. Also, because Ben was finding it impossible to be with his peers at the time, careful timing meant he never actually needed to meet other students before, during or after his exams. When it came to the AS level exams this year, Ben was well enough to sit them as normal with everyone else. The only problem was that he wasn't sleeping and so was knackered throughout, which has been reflected in his grades. His GCSEs were surprisingly good, considering how little time he'd been in school that year. There was a plan B in place, just in case he chickened out at the 11th hour. A separate exam room was made available, but in the event he didn't need to use this. Many of the eating disorder teenagers I know of tend to be driven to study hard for exams and get stressed out. Taking time out from school definitely helped things, plus the exam arrangements. And I never nagged him about revision or getting into school. Basically, I didn't give a monkeys about the exam results. All I wanted was for Ben to get well, and I made this clear to him throughout. Oh, and the school was also able to arrange special consideration for results that may be affected by the illness. It doesn't make a massive difference to grades, but can move things up a few % if everyone at school feels the candidate could have done better. Basically, what you need is a very supportive school. We were lucky in that respect and still are. Ben's AS levels were a bit dodgy, but he's been given the chance to resit them where necessary. Also, fingers crossed, he may actually make it back to school full time when term starts in a couple of weeks. And that's the end of that post. You'll find a link below to my blog, and you'll also find a link to my website where you can download free PDFs of my blog, and also a link to Amazon where you can buy a copy of my book.